results, now what? You get your DNA results and you're looking at the results and you have no clue, or at least I did when I first thought of what to do next. And so this is just a little introductory on what to do next. My name is Jen Bryant, and if you would like to reach me, my email address is up here. It's also on your handout. And this is Eve, and Olsen, and her email is right here. And I've got the wrong date because we were originally supposed to do this on the 5th of February. Okay, you gotta hit it. Okay, so what are some reasons why you would like to get your DNA done? What are some reasons? Anybody? You want to see your ethnicity, yes. Anybody else? That was it? Solve a family mystery. There are all kinds of reasons. So to confirm your research is another one. You've researched and the DNA confirms what you have found out. You can use your DNA to find out your ancestors' origins through their haplogroup. And we'll talk about that a little bit. And to find others, it's a great way to find others that are doing genealogy also that you could collaborate with.
I know a lot of people were adopted and they might want to search for who their family is.
Okay, next slide.
Sure, yes. I actually had it done, so like everybody else has mentioned, to find out
is it
more
on?
about your family line. Yes, ma'am. Well, I can yell.
Okay.
I also had my son take it.
Try the other one.
Before my husband passed away, we were trying to find, he wanted to find his siblings. On his dad's side.
It's just
Oh.
your ear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, he can. But he's recording it for us.
Oh, okay. I said the reason I had mine done was the same reasons plenty of you wanted to have yours done, to find out where you came, because a lot of us are descendants of slaves. So we kind of want to know where our line ends up or came from. But with my husband, he was trying to find his siblings before he passed away, because it was a mixed family. And I had my son do his genealogy because I knew it could be traced through his line, can't be traced through mine because it was by marriage. And that's why I had it done, so we could find his siblings in Quebec.
That's great. So each DNA company has their own DNA panel. So their panel, they pick a group of people from each section of the world, and they compare our DNA sample to. Now, the larger, like Ancestry has a huge DNA panel, so the larger the DNA panel is, the more accurate their results. But sometimes our DNA that we send in is not exactly like their pooled results, their pool sample. And so what they do is they fit us into what they estimate that we are. And once they take more in and they get more samples that are like our samples, our DNA results might change. So I may be 18% Nigerian, and then they redo it and say, oh, you're really 32. So your DNA never changes, but your DNA results may change as they get a better estimate. Yeah.
So then, if you get one time and you get the rundown on what it is, then do they just automatically notify you through email or something if there's an update?
Right. When you go on to, say, Ancestry, it'll say, oh, we've updated your ethnicity. Click on here, and you can compare the two. But once you click on it, they'll update it to what it was original, their new results.
And they might not, if
you have, depending on what your email settings are, they might not notify you. But if you go and look and you often check your DNA results, it'll say there's been an update. It might not have changed, but it might have. So you just go back online, you sign in and you check, and we'll show after.
Yeah, you go into the DNA part, and it'll say, click here to see your update.
Because it depends on what group do their DNA, right?
Right, exactly.
Because I have some Indian,
Right,
and it said I don't.
right, I don't either. A lot of us think we have Indian, and some of us may, but they,
Depends on
as a
who
population,
is, yeah, who is
as a
doing it.
population, they don't really.
And hundreds of people are doing their DNA every day. So,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
The other point is that you can have your DNA done with one company, and then you do it with another company, and they're not the same.
And that's because of their panel that they're using and their pool. You're right. So a company like
Yeah, we actually are talking about that.
MyHeritage may not have as many samples as, say, Ancestry. So it'll be similar. It's still your DNA, but it's been compared against the different panel. Yes.
Which one is the better one to have? Because I did the National Geographic one back in 2005, when they first started really hearing about it. I did that one, and it goes through the hapless rules and all of that. And then I did the Ancestry, and it does it more concise too. So I'm like, which one is the better one to
You kind
have?
of repeat the question, but not, you don't have to repeat everything.
So she's asking which company is the better to go with, and actually it depends on what you want to find out. And we'll talk about that more. But different ones have different genealogy tools that you can use. They have have more matches. It depends what you want to find out. And we'll talk about it, because some of them you can download onto you can take your Ancestry and download onto other websites and use it that. Yes. Yes.
How many different companies are there? We've done the Ancestry in the White Indian. I understand there are more.
There are many more.
Is Ancestry the largest, and then 23andMe, or how are they?
We'll actually talk about it's in our slide too.
Right.
You guys are all asking great. You're all in the right place.
Yes.
Going back to her question about Native Americans, Native Americans haven't had a lot of tests, so that's why some of the results are coming out a little different than I understand, right?
Right. I was going to say that the Native Americans as a whole have not done the DNA tests, so then there's not a panel. They're not part of the panel to compare our results with. Yes.
So how do you figure out what pool you're in? Like I went to Ancestry.com and I did a DNA. So how do I know what pool they're looking at? Because I've always been told I had Indian blood, but it doesn't show up as
Just stick
Indian.
with it. Just stick with it.
Yeah.
For update it. I think probably the Native American percentages that they do have on there are a lot from people like you and me that are going, and it's almost non-existent. But it's so small that maybe as it starts getting bigger, then it starts assigning. Like my husband has Native American. In fact, when we did all our children, it updated, and he has North Mongolian 1%. It's very strange, but I feel like some of those legends, everybody has a legend of a Native American princess in their line.
Well, not
You
that.
know, I did too, and there's not any in mine.
Actually, my sister-in-law, I was trying to get my brother to do the DNA, and I sent it to my brother to have him do his DNA. He gave it to his wife, and she did it. And she is Mexican by descent, and when it came back, she was 52% Native American.
Wow.
Like 26% Northern Indigenous American, and the other one was another 26% South American, indigenous American. So it's they're just not cropping up for us yet. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's do the next one. So we've already really talked about this, yeah. All right. So have you ever? How many of you here have siblings? Yeah, do you look, unless your sibling is your twin, do you look exactly like your, and even twins don't look exactly alike. And have you ever wondered why? You came from the same two parents, right? So I have analogy of having vegetable soup, and you have carrots, and you have corn, and you have green beans, and just all kinds of stuff in there. Now, if you had this great big pot and you dipped in and put some of it into a bowl, and your siblings came along, and between each one, it's been replenished with all the stuff that you took out, and they dipped in there and they took a bowl. Are your bowls going to be exactly the same? No, you're not going to have the same amount of corn or the same amount of carrots. So that's why we all get a little different amount of DNA, and might even not get. My sister may have DNA from one family line, and I might not get it at all. So that's why we don't look alike. We each get 46 chromosomes. We each have 46 chromosomes, and each of us get 26 from each parent. So half of what your father has or your mother has, you're not going to get it all. So, yeah, so there's an endless amount of combinations that we can all get. So Eve is going to take over.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna, I had a friend who, their family did, anyway. All the boys had German descent, and all the girls had indigenous.
Really?
They were from Argentina.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know, it just split up
Isn't that
right
interesting?
on male and female line.
It may have something to do with the Y and the X,
Yeah, that's
the
really
chromosome. So this is Eve's family, and she's going to talk about it.
Yeah, so these are my two daughters, and this is Adam, my husband, so we're Adam and Eve. We'll just go ahead and let everybody know that. And so this is just kind of a big general of his estimates. This I think is like 3%, this is 2%, this is 1%, but he totally looks like he was, straight from Europe. So it's really interesting to see how different he is on the inside than what he looks like on the outside. And I've actually uploaded all of this, all of these DNA results into MyHeritage, and it puts out slightly the same, but some different ones too. So we'll get to that later as well. But then this is mine. I could zoom in on mine more than he could his. And then these are our daughters. So this is our oldest daughter, and you can tell she's got a lot from, what came from him and what came from me. But then she's got this right here that neither of us have. I'm assuming it's probably from him, considering he's got some of the more far out, lesser estimates. But I found that was really interesting, that a child can have DNA that neither of their parents show. So I would think, when in doubt, try to get DNA results, because you never know what you might find. Yes, sir, let me bring this to you.
And if anyone figured out why those males had German descent?
She thought maybe it was the Y chromosome.
Well,
Now,
Why-
those
Stephanie
Germans that
might
came over
know.
from Argentina. They came over from Germany to Argentina after the war.
They all fled Argentina after the
Oh,
war.
yes, after the war,
They
yeah.
were almost German citizens.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is why I found it's very beneficial And I don't know what these DNA results still hold for me and my research as more people decide to do their DNA. So,
E,
yes.
is that thing you got on the wall there, is that a geographical map? And what are those colors indicate?
So let me,
Yes,
are you going
go
to
ahead.
repeat it?
No, you can, because you have mine.
So, no, I'll let you answer. I'm just going to repeat his question so they know.
Oh, yeah, repeat it.
Yeah, so he wants to know what are these, is this a geographical map, and what do these colors represent?
So this is something that Ancestry does as well. So when you pull it up, and we'll do a little pull up after the presentation, just where you can see where I can find this on Ancestry and what it tells me. And it's actually pretty cool. You can even click on one of the colors, and it brings up more information about that area and location. And this is just if you want to know a little bit more about the cultural background, because it goes back. These results go back thousands of years. It's not like you can use this to kind of just find who you're, you know.
Yeah, it's more of a guide.
Yes, it's a
Yeah.
guide. It's like a general, like long-term or back. It's hard to talk about present and past and future all in one. But anyways, this does give a geographical kind of map of ancestry. And so, yeah, we'll delve into that a little bit more.
And it doesn't, looking at this, it doesn't seem like they have a particular color for a particular region. Yeah, it's, yeah,
Right.
right.
It's just so that you can be a rainbow, which I like rainbows. So.
I'm sorry, hey, but, you know, if you take the DNA test, you have to have an ancestry account in order to see these results, right?
No.
You do, but it's free. You do, but it's free. Because you have to register for it in order to have your DNA results be to you.
Right, but when you take the DNA, you'll have access to your DNA. The DNA part is free. Yes.
I think the colors coincide to how strong a link you have to that particular group.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I think so it's like if you're 80 to 100, it's green. If you're 60 to something.
Well, it does when you have
So we should repeat that. He thinks that the colors has to do with the amount of ancestry you have a link to it.
And it does if I had the rest of the chart on here, because I don't have the rest of the chart. So the rest of the chart would say, for me, the rest of the chart would say Scottish 42%. And then the next is probably Eastern Russia, and that's like 17%. And so it's color coordinated to the location, but as you can see, it's on an individual thing. So that's just up here just so you can see the differences.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. So we all have different types of DNA. We have autosomal DNA, and 22 of the chromosomes and the X chromosome are autosomal. And then we have the X, well, we'll talk about the other, but the companies that do this are Ancestry, MyHeritage, My Family Tree DNA, and 23andMe. So then you also have the Y-DNA, and the Y-DNA is passed down from father to son. The daughter does not get that. So it usually follows the surname, but if the child was adopted or something, your surname may change. The Y-DNA rarely mutates, unlike your autosomal DNAs, because autosomal DNAs, when you get one from each parent, so then there are two of them, and they can cross-mutate and change when you pass it on to your children. the female, if you are
Mutates to what?
it.
I know what mutate means, but I don't know what it means in this setting.
Okay, so say you get an X from your mom and an X from your dad, and when you get pregnant with an egg and your husband's sperm, you have two of the same chromosomes. So when they come together, they may give, how can I say, when that's, it's really your mom and dad. So when your mom and dad, when you get their DNA and you go to split apart to give your DNA to your child, before that happens, the two chromosomes, and I'm getting complicated here, can come together and then intermingle so that they can get a part of one. You can have all of your mother and a little bit of your dad and be able to give that to your child.
That X chromosome does that a lot easier than the Y chromosome.
Oh, right, because you get two X's.
Because we have no Y chromosome.
And the Y chromosome is male only males. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? It will.
I'm not stupid, I know what it
No.
is.
Yeah.
But when you say they combine and mutate, that's the part that.
It's not really it's a recombination, more of a recombination.
I don't like that word mutate.
The reason that's important, the recombination, is because the testing companies. I'm sorry. The reason that's important, the reason she's mentioning it right now, is because the testing companies, when they test your DNA, they follow it along, and then they find, oh, this is different. That's a recombination. So that's why she mentioned it. That's why it's important, because the testing companies, when they test your DNA, they'll read, okay, here's this one, this looks right. Oh, but this one's different. And so they use it in their calculations. That point where it changes is important to their calculations.
Yeah, and maybe that means that ethnicity is no longer in your results. And ethnicity is no longer, and that makes people mad sometimes. They're like, where did my Native American go? I only had 1%. But it's just because it's refiguring. I'm gonna let you keep that microphone back there too, Stephanie. You can let it.
Who's taking the Y-DNA test?
Anybody in here taking a Y-DNA test? Do you know?
I have not. I did my father-in-law.
Okay.
I didn't do that.
And what she says
Yeah,
about
so you had somebody.
sometimes it follows the same surname, but that's not always the case.
Right.
My Y-DNA didn't come back anything like Chalmers.
Yeah, my husband's
Tried
Same.
Burkhalter, for instance.
Burkhalter was the name, huh? Okay.
And I know who it is, where it is, how it started, and the whole bit, because it was easy to trace.
Yeah, we haven't gotten that far. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, you're talking about epigenetics. Those are so interesting. Go ahead.
So I was saying, it says recombines or mutates. The mutate, sometimes it could bug people up, but the mutation can be something that has nothing to do with your base biological genetic makeup.
Right.
That you can have like epigenetic marks that come and mutate your gene that come from the environment or, again, anything that might.
Right. But we're not going to get that complicated. Yeah, it can. You can. Yeah, you're right. All right. So the DNA, there's only two DNA companies that do that right now for Y, and that is Family Tree DNA and African Ancestry. Yes.
Okay, I did 23andMe and Ancestry, and I had my younger brother do both, because I was trying to capture the oh, sorry. Okay, because I don't think this thing is really working.
It's for the recording.
It's for the recorder, okay,
Yes.
now, okay, I'm on stage, okay. Okay, so, we both did it in two, different companies. But my understanding is that on 23andMe, they gave his Y Hapalog group.
Yeah, a haplolog group, which I found out through my friend Stephanie, is different from the actual Y. The haplolog just tells the origin, where the Y DNA is your
And Stephanie, will you introduce
chromosome.
yourself,
Yeah.
please?
She's one of the speakers later on.
My name is Stephanie Powers, and I facilitate the DNA's interest group for the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society. So we talk about this once a month. We talk about DNA. We talk about how to use DNA to do your genealogy. If I were not here today, we would be in that group today talking
Yes,
about
we would.
genealogy. So that's why she keeps referring to
And
me.
you're
I do not know everything.
And you are teaching a class today, correct?
Right after this one.
Yes. So I'll try not to rope you in too much.
Actually, you guys continue on, because I want to make sure you get all your.
Okay, great.
Okay,
And just keep that microphone back next to you.
so the DNA, when you go into Family Tree DNA, you will see that they have a number of markers, and I'm not going to go into what a marker is, but the more markers, the more accurate the results, of course. So Family Tree DNA has 37, 110, and 700, and they cost. The cost goes up more depending on how many markers you get. The more markers, the more likely you would match other DNA relatives. And of course, the more markers, the more the price. But you know what with Family Tree DNA, they save, when you send in your sample, they save it. So you can buy the lower one and then upgrade it as you can afford to buy more markers. Okay, so the mitochondrial DNA is passed down from the mother to both her son and daughter. The son, however, will not pass it on to his child. So the mitochondria DNA is actually DNA in a little organelle that's inside your cell. So it's a separate DNA from your regular DNA from the nucleus. Go back. Okay, so I said all of that. The DNA companies that do this is, again, Family Tree DNA and African Ancestry. And if you guys know of other ones, just let me know and I'll add it to the PowerPoint. So now we're going to go on to Centimorgans. Centimorgans is a measurement. It's like using a ruler and measuring out an inch. So a centimorgan is measuring the amount of genetic distance that is within that chromosome. So the amount of autosomal DNA shared in a certain section of DNA, when a relative is a close match, the higher the centimorgans, the closer they are to your being related to you. Okay. So here is an example. I don't know if you can, I'm sure you can't see. So this person has 796 centimorgans that she shares with me. And if you click, I think if you click on the centimorgans, if you click on the centimorgans, there's a drop down that will show the different relationships you may have with that person. So I have a 93% chance of being a first cousin with this person, a great-grandparent, a grandchild, a great aunt or uncle, and this can still exist, only a 6% of being a first cousin, first removed, and so on and so forth. She's my first cousin. So this is what it looks like on Ancestry, and you would click right here to show you what we've got. That should have been up higher.
And sometimes now And sometimes Ancestry also has this through lines feature, and so I think it's important to make a point that though that through lines is still it's not set in stone. Yes, exactly.
It's set on your family tree, and it depends how accurate their family tree
Yes.
is.
Because
If it's
only
correct.
following the DNA. And so if your other DNA matches have this in your tree, even if it might be wrong, but it will show up in your through lines, and we'll kind of touch on that. But most of what I wanted to point out is that sometimes it'll have right here or under here common ancestor, and you can click on that and see how that person might be in your tree.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Go ahead. Go to the next one. So this is, I'm just showing where to click. I just already spoke on that. So this is MyHeritage, and this is what it looks like when you go there. If this person that I'm matching with is 205 Centimorgans, and if I click right here, it will come up with a graph showing the different, in pink, the different, you know what
So there's her, and then these are all the possibilities that they could be related.
right, so it's showing all the different possibilities in a graph form, which I think is easier to kind of think about.
Does
So
anybody in here use MyHeritage?
I just uploaded my DNA from Ancestry.
Yes.
Heritage, and I'm waiting on it to
Yes,
save.
and it's faster.
Oh, good.
I've done that with all of my results for the Ancestry. You can do that to MyHeritage.
all right, so you can, and I think I've got that later on, you can take your DNA results from from Ancestry, from Family Tree DNA, and from 23andMe, and upload it onto MyHeritage. And I think right now it's free. It was $29. It's $29 if you want to use the tools, I believe. But it's a way.
Update that, because it was free from the, let's see, from the 3rd until the 8th. I just missed it.
Ah.
It's $149 for a year. So they're gonna, so I have
Oh, wow.
7-day free trial, so I like it.
Oh, well, I think it's free to download, and then you could see your results. But if you want to use their tools and look at,
They do have some cool tools.
they have awesome tools. It's
The DNA tools are $29, but to use all their databases and all that, that's the extra
Yeah,
$100 and something dollars.
Similar
Extra.
to Ancestry.
Yeah, Ancestry has a lot of the documents you would review, and they're trying to charge you the same thing as Ancestry to review those documents.
right.
And I would like to say, sorry, Jan, that MyHeritage, if you have any Ukrainian, Scandinavian, European ancestry, a lot of them use MyHeritage. Just let you know that.
And the same thing with the African American. There was more on African American DNA and ancestry than the other ones. So it's not as strong.
Oh, you said on Ancestry though?
On ancestry,
Oh, yes,
there's
okay.
more. Yeah.
I
This is
just want to clarify, the one with the most is African ancestry. Is that
Right.
true? They have a bigger database?
well, they just still an African American ancestry.
Right.
So they will have the most.
But if you want to broaden it to more, I bet Ancestry would have
I
some
have
of
both,
those.
so I'm covered.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
they don't.
I argue with people all the time because people go, oh, I don't want to do African ancestry. Everybody poo-poos it and all this kind of stuff, which I don't understand, and I hope y'all can explain.
I say do them all.
Yeah, I say do them all also, because you want different viewpoints, you want different perspectives. So I think the reason people poo-poo it is because the only thing that African ancestry gives you is ethnicity, where you're from.
Yeah,
That's all
what
they
I was
give
going
you.
to say.
And if that's what you want, then yes, use that one.
They don't give you matches?
And actually, my matches, my African matches came on Ancestry and 23andMe. I actually had matches to Ghana and a family in Ghana.
Yeah, he
About
connected with
several
his
years
African
ago.
family.
Traveled to Ghana, met with the family, spent a month with them. But I never, I didn't, after I looked at African Ancestry, I didn't want to spend the money because I couldn't find any matches.
It depends on what you want. If you
Yeah.
want to know what geographic area your ancestors might have come from,
Yeah.
then African ancestry is the geographic area, but it would not point you to other people in that sense.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you want.
Yeah, if you want names of ancestors,
Yeah.
you might want matches.
And for
That's
those
what I
who
got.
are looking for, if you're a living DNA, that's what they do too. They find the geographic area where your ancestors are from. They just started doing matches, but they have very few matches.
And what is that you said?
A living DNA.
Living DNA.
So if all you want to know is what geographic area from way back your ancestors were from, that's a good source because they have a big pool. So that's another one that's just like African ancestry, but it's centered on Europe.
It's too bad that the African ancestry, you can't upload it into Family Tree or MyHeritage. It would be great if they allowed you that.
That'd be more specific.
Yeah.
What about this website called, I think it's
Ancient DNA, do you?
Yeah, so okay, one of the
She should have
things
been
that
part of the speaker.
most of the tools do is they look at DNA from way back. So if you were to look at the mummies that they get from Egypt, that kind of DNA, it's not a living person. It's DNA that they've captured from way back. That's what ancient DNA is.
Okay.
It's helpful because it goes way back. It's helpful. And also it's helpful because the people that are alive today, you and I, we may have migrated from a bunch of different places, but the ancient will at least tell you that in this time frame, this is where those people were in that time frame from way, way back. If that's what you want to know. And the DNA testing companies use it to try to figure out how to tell you where you're from. They use it in their calculations to try to tell you that.
Okay, we have another question. She's bringing you this.
I just had a call, because I've just been downloading and uploading my DNA to several places, and I just did it to GEDmatch. And they have the ancient DNA on there, and that's free. So you don't have to pay another company to tell you if you have ancient DNA.
Just get ready. GEDmatch people are wanting to find their matches on there. They will email you.
So why isn't that okay? Because they don't do DNA testing, they just do matching.
Right, they do matching and there are genealogy tools. Yeah, it's a good one. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So this is 23andMe, and this is what it looks like when you go on their website. And so when you go there, they automatically show you where they think your match is at on the family tree.
That's what I like.
And then it also shows you right there your where you match on
The markers.
where you match on each of the chromosomes. So and this, well, I won't get into that. I was going to say it's just one of the alleles within your chromosome. So it's not showing if it's coming from the mom or the dad. Okay, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this already, the Centimorgan chart. And if you haven't, I can talk about it. So this is you. And this is your parent. I should probably be using this. So this is your parent, and then your children, your cousins, your sibling, and then on this side it shows half. So, and on this side will be first, second, and third, and fifth cousins. And then going up, which would be your grandparent, your great-grandparent, and then it shows their children, your uncle or aunt. And then the next one up would be great-grandparent. And what is great about this chart is it shows the average DNA for each in the range. And so if you have, if you know, like my cousin was 727, you would look on this chart to see where she might be. She might be as a half cousin. She may be a full cousin here. She, you would just look and to see where she would land at. Is there any questions on that? It's pretty straightforward. Now, if you look in your,
Yeah, you should have this in your.
if you look in your package, I didn't add the next one, but there's another chart that also shows, that I thought was pretty cool. It actually shows the centimorgans and the ranges and what they can be. So you don't have to try and figure it out here. This is more of a graphic to see how you connect, but this will tell you the different people that they may be.
And a green chart.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, this is called a family tree. And so this is showing all your relatives, everybody that falls down the line. This one is a genetic tree. And what it's showing is that some of the white spots as you get up to your fourth and fifth cousins aren't a DNA cousin to you because of what we talked about of you only get half and then it may recombine. So that's why it's good to test your siblings and your cousins to catch other relatives that you might have descended from.
Other ethnicities that you might not
Yeah.
know you had.
So then I made a chart, and I'm just comparing all the different companies, and I don't have Living up there or National Geographic, but I got the main ones. So it tells, like, Ancestry does not do Y-DNA or mitochondria. It does autosomal. It will build your tree. You cannot upgrade. It does not save your sample to do upgrades. They don't cooperate with the law enforcement unless law enforcement comes to them and asks. Can you research documents? Yes. So this just tells what each of the companies do. You have a chart saying that. Family Tree is the only one that allows you to upgrade. They save your samples, and they do allow law enforcement to work with to look at your DNA without coming to them. And I think, 23andMe is another one that allows it. The only two that has documents, and most of them that you find in MyHeritage is usually from from Family Search, and then the cost varies. You know, Ancestry may be a little more expensive. Oh, another thing, talking about costs, the best time to buy one of these is during the holidays. Yeah, like right now they have a St. Patrick. And so, like I was lucky, I think at Thanksgiving time, my family tree, they normally don't go on, the Y doesn't usually go on sale, but I was able to purchase it for $49. So I did Ken's father. And we were really surprised because he's 86% African and his Y DNA is Caucasian.
Wow.
So, and then I wrote which ones allow you to download. Like you can take your Ancestry and download it to my to Family Seed Tree DNA for free, and MyHeritage. MyHeritage is free, but if you want to use their DNA tools, it costs $29.
And I wonder, I'm not sure, with me anyway, I have uploaded mine to MyHeritage from Ancestry, and I've uploaded every other DNA test that I've had on Ancestry. I've also uploaded that. So my children's, I've uploaded them on MyHeritage. I've uploaded my siblings on MyHeritage, just because that's a feature that they allow me to do. I don't know if anybody else, I'm sure you can, or what kind of, if you have a free or if you pay that one-time fee, but they will say, is this yours or is this, whose is this? And you just let them know in your tree whose it is. And so, so if you're kind of a fanatic like I am, you might want to try that out.
Right. The advantage is that Family Tree has different tools that you can use, and MyHeritage has some nice genealogy tools that you could use. They'll allow you to compare your chromosomes to someone else's, and I don't know if I put that here. We'll keep going. Nope, I didn't. So it will say if you click on a match, it will list all the other matches that match you and that particular match. And then you can click on you can do a comparison of up to about 7 people and see exactly which chromosomes you match on. And that will show you that you're more than likely that you are related through some line. Okay. Testing others. When you test others, like most of us want to do, you should consider getting permission, a verbal or a written permission from them, because you want to let them know the risks of having law enforcement look at their results. And there are good reasons for law enforcement. They may be looking for a Jane Doe. They may be looking for,
Have a serial killer.
Yeah, they found it. Yeah, well, that may not be a good reason, but for.
I know, but he was a policeman. I think that's amazing.
And the other thing is, they may be looking at a person that was missing in action and using that DNA to find their relatives. So there are good reasons, but you definitely want to talk to them. You don't want somebody to show up on their doorstep. And
also look out for those. You can opt out in some cases. So.
You can. In GEDmatch, you can opt out. And I guess we didn't do GEDmatch. But we'll allow one of the other DNA courses to cover that. I think this is my last slide. Yeah. So she's going to, we've got about, yeah, and we've already had questions and answers.
Yeah, and we'll,
take that. And she's going to show you how to use the DNA.
Yeah, I'm just going to show you what it's like when I go in and how if any of you have questions about what it looks like when you go in. So, for example, I'm sure you don't need to do it for me, but because I was helping. I'm gonna help her a little bit, but anyways, so let's say you click on your DNA. Does everybody see my little cursor up there? Okay. So usually, if you just click on DNA results summary.
Read it, I guess.
And it will, everybody knows my middle name now, okay, so. I'm sorry, I'm hooked up to my Wi-Fi. And right here.
Actually, should I?
Okay. All right. So this is where it would say, oh, you haven't discovered your DNA story. It'll say, you have an update. And that would be the next page that it comes to. And that's how you would know if you have an update. I constantly check, so it would have already made it to, I've already done the updating, but this is what I did not show before, is all of this on the side. So this is what all this in color refers to. So you could click on any of these, and then this tells you a little bit more in depth about the region. You can read the full history. That's kind of cool. On MyHeritage, you can do the same thing in a way. It's really cool. They even add music. I'm very influenced by music. So I think that's cool. And so this is how that's different. See, this is, I have, Central Asian, West Asian, Nigeria. But then here are some of the similar ones that I have from.
It's different because they look at different markers on your DNA.
Yes, they look at different markers, yeah. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. Yes, it's a different algorithm.
It depends on who goes to put the results in that company. And the more they pick out the people within the movement, and then compare the results of those studies. So the people that are on ancestry may not be the same as the people that are populated.
And I know that in MyHeritage, a lot of Ukrainians, and I'm Ukrainian, so I know that they use this a lot. But this I find is kind of fascinating. It's a lot. I haven't even gone into a lot of it myself, but they have different DNA tools to use. See, I don't know that. And see, and here's DNA matches. It gives you, like, these are all going to be my kids that pop up because they're the closest to me, then my mom, and then my siblings, and then it gets to, that takes up all the first page. There's a lot of us. But then it's my aunt and my cousins, and so you kind of see this is my great aunt. And then I even went to Ukraine and got some DNA from my dad's first cousins. So.
Can you click on one of them and just show them?
Yeah, let's click on here. Review DNA match.
And then roll down and show them your other matches? Not there yet.
So this shows we share 39 segments. That would be the markers, things that she's talking about. I mean, it's really kind of goes in depth. This is the person that matches us the highest. This is my youngest sister.
Right. And show them where do they click to see the matches of that match?
Okay.
No.
Nope, matches of, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. All right. All right, go back, down. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it's got to pop up. Sorry, my phone is, there we go.
Go back to your matches.
I'll just back some more, another. It's okay.
Tell me again what we're trying to see.
So do the review. I was trying to show, and then go down,
Okay.
to show how they triangulate. You can see how they triangulate. But she came out of that angle.
Did it come out again? Sorry.
Go all the way down. See?
Okay.
You gotta find the other matches to your match. There you go. There you go.
Okay.
But I don't see. There's usually a little symbol right here.
Yeah, that lets you. That just depends on, I think, if they have their. I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah, that one doesn't work. You
Yeah.
had it up a minute ago, but there's a little thing. You click on that, and that
show you all the matches that you
See, I don't even know
have
that.
in person, and you can also look at their DNA.
Okay.
Well, go ahead.
Okay. So, one of the things that I think is important for if you're just starting out with getting your DNA results, like I help a man that lives in Ohio, and he has family from here. In fact, he was born when his father was 60, but they lived there, and he didn't know any of his relatives. And he is an awesome investigator. Once he got his information, he was ready to contact, get information, all that stuff. I would suggest when you get your DNA results back, or if you haven't really looked at them, I would take about a good month to just kind of soak it all in, check your matches. Even if you don't really do anything, just look at them, get familiar with who they are, find out if they're on your mother or dad's side. If you don't know how to do that, let me click on DNA matches real quick. Because Ancestry is my place that I sit at all the time and visit in the wee hours of the morning as well. And you can search and sort over here. You can search by surname. And try that way. Like Young is my mom's maiden name, and I can't ever really find past my third great grandfather. And so if I search everybody that has a Young in their tree, it might not be the same ancestor, but that just gives me a starting point. And so this LR, managed by Rebecca Rasmussen, that's my sister, common ancestor, that would show up. And that common ancestor is through lines. So, oh, that's right, she did my nephew. So Logan Rasmussen, that's who LR is. And this is our common ancestor. I mean, I already know that, but it might be, let's say you didn't know anybody, like I don't know who Bruce Young is, but he's on my mother's side, and we have this common ancestor. Sorry, it said mother's side on there. That's how I know. But my mother has done her DNA.
Because your mother or one of your parents has done your DNA, it will pop up saying mother or father.
Yes.
Both of my parents have passed, so I can click on some of them and tell that those relatives that are in common with me are from my dad's side or my mother's side, and there is a like when you click on it, there is a place to put notes, and so I will put a note.
Mm-hmm.
Maternal, or I think they're young, or
Yeah, so.
And it will pop up there.
So if you click on a person, you have this add a note right here. So you can type it into there. You can also click on that if they're in your family tree. Then if he was in there, I don't think, then I can connect him to this. And now he is on my list. He's connected through that. Yes, that's kind of what I do with people that I don't know, that I'm just using DNA to try to figure out. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? This was mainly this part was just if you didn't know how to get somewhere, and through everybody trying to, answer questions that say, oh, go here, or you can go here. If you have any questions like that, we'll be happy to help you. And there's personal help in the other room that you might not be able to sign up for. They might not have any more slots, but there's volunteers in there to help you maneuver your own way. So.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you. Thanks.